Alaman niyo.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever or whenever you may be. This is the overnight, and I am DM Foss, and so far we have DJ Play Nice. How you doing, DJ?
I'm doing well. Glad to be here, Foss. Glad to be here.
Hopefully, we get a couple more people coming in for tonight, but let me get the banner going because I remembered the banner this time. There we go at the bottom of the screen. There's an email address, untactfulfoss@gmail.com, and a link, and those will get you somewhere. You can send in comments, suggestions, or pictures within reason. And if you watch this in replay, leave a comment. Anything we talk about, agree with, disagree with, think we left out. I always read the comments, and they're always appreciated. Let's go over. So let's take a look. See, there's only a few people out there so far tonight. G23 was first, but he might have gone to bed. Sergeant Joe Smith, I swear to God, this is the last stream of yours I'm going to watch this year. Most likely, yes. And Ozzy Osbourne, Barking at the Moon. Good evening, everybody. So how's your night going so far, DJ?
It's going really well. Just coming off getting into the back chat of Hillbilly Up's channel chat for this evening, and it was a good time. And Gary was there. He's probably coming over from that. Needed to get a break. Gary had to drink a seltzer tonight, hard seltzer.
Oh,
I did, and it was as nasty as advertised.
But confirm. It was for a good cause.
Yes, it was.
Hillbilly was raising money. I forget what it was for exactly.
It was for Red Raider Reloading. Something about he had a sick child or something like that and was trying to recoup some expenses. So the Scottish American was the one who started the fundraiser and who volunteered to drink a hard seltzer if we raised $1,500, which we quickly hit that goal. And then I'm like, okay, if we can make it to 2,000, I'll drink one. And it took probably the rest of the program almost to get there, but we did get another 500 out of them. So tonight was payback night. So,
well, it's nice to see people came together for a good cause.
Yeah. It was fun, but not something I want to do again real soon, if at all.
I've never had a hard seltzer. It's never appealed to me. I don't care for seltzers in general.
I
Hard or
thought it
soft.
might be a little better than it was. It's not.
What flavor? What flavor was it?
Oh, let me get this empty can out of my trash here. Let's see. It is cherry blossom and lime.
It doesn't sound good at all.
It's not.
Yesterday, Palmades out there. Good evening. Oh, so let's take a look at. Let me call up see if I have it ready to go. This week's poll. If you haven't voted in the poll, there's a link for it in the chat. There. Make it there. We go. So I asked, using whatever metric you want, will 2024 be better than 2023? And it was yes, upwards and onwards. Nothing ever changes. It will be more of the same. No, we will continue a slow descent into madness. Reality is an illusion, or other. And then I asked for people to leave a comment. And 41% said no, we will continue a slow descent into madness. 22% said yes, upwards and onwards. 19%, nothing ever changes. It will be more of the same. And tied at 9% was reality is an illusion and other. If let me change this to newest. There we go. Looking at the comments, Kingpin said, you know the thing. Caucasian Sasquatch said, war never changes. Karen Woodson's was asking if she could cheat, and I'll circle back to that. Woods, I can use metric because math. Gun Website said, yes, things do get better each year. Pat in a Bunker, 2024 be like hold my beer. Watch this. New York Outcast said hash number 4 and with a thumbs up. I almost said hashtag. Guns and Water, I'm used to New York Outcast asking all the questions. Feels like 24 will be a slippery slope. Sergeant Joe Smith, A24 Films and I are predicting Civil War. And DJ Play Nice said, reality, what a concept. Robin Williams. So, Gary, what do you think? Will the upcoming year be better, worse, the same?
Well, we tried to predict this stuff last night, but man, it's hard to tell. I'd like to think it'll be better just because we're going to keep fighting to make it better. And I hope it works out that way. I mean, we've got elections coming up this next year. And it's going to be up to us to change things. And hopefully we can get that done. And hopefully there aren't hijinks going out there. Not that there's any such thing, YouTube. But you know what I mean. I hope it's a fair election, and I hope that everybody who needs to and who supports us gets off their respective duffs and gets to the polls. That's what does it, folks.
Yeah. How about you, DJ? What do you think?
Well, the poll said that was using any metric, I believe.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I like to benchmark our progress, and when I say our, it's either my family, my city, my culture, my world sort of thing. I hedge with science quite a bit, and it doesn't give me really a rosy disposition because there are many things that science and technology give us, and AI is one of them that sometimes can be scary or can take a long time to settle in or for people to adopt. or adapt kind of thing. And so I feel that each year, I'm sort of with G-Webs. I don't know what metric he's using, but it seems to me that every year does get better. I think focusing on just medicine alone from year to year, I don't keep track of everything, of course, but I hear stories every year about how my grandpa had this, this surgery, and it was this much more invasive. And when you look at like survival rates of things, I think it does get better each year, and I'm going to benefit by some of that myself. A procedure that I'm facing in the next couple of years is one that was incredibly rare and only practiced at a few hospitals, teaching hospitals in the country just about 5 years ago. And now it's been adopted so wholeheartedly that it cuts down on recovery time, it cuts down on the actual surgery time, and a lot of other stuff. So I know that's only a single metric, but I do believe, and I think the more information we have, especially in this age of information and technology, the better we have, the better tools we have to actually improve the world, if we choose to change.
That's fair. I'll say that's fair. Ozzy says more of the same. It's an Illinois thing. I think things will change in order to stay the same. And I don't know how to describe what I'm thinking, but there's always change and everything always stays the same. It's one of the things that has changed over the years since the proliferation of social media is people shouting about things. And so I think that skews the way things are viewed, where I hate using echo chamber, but you get a few people shouting loudly about something, and it seems like everybody's shouting about that when not everybody is shouting about that, whatever it is. Yeah, I was going to look up a bunch of stories about 2023, and I ended up just sitting looking at YouTube videos. Didn't do anything today, so I am ill prepared. But that's all right. So what do you guys think? Do you think that that there's a few loud voices that kind of skew how things are viewed, or is it a lot of people shouting about this or that?
You talking about in our community or the world or the nation as a whole?
We'll say in general. I know it absolutely happens in our community, but
well, a lot of people's opinions are swayed by what's reported in the media. The only problem is the media is heavily biased, and so you're getting force-fed information that is heavily skewed. That's why I think within our community we have to look at things hard and really analyze the heck out of stuff, because it's much the same in our community. I'm sure there's people that skew things the other way too. If you want to get the whole truth about what's going on in this nation and the world, you have to really take it from many sources and get some varied information. Don't take one person's word for it, because you just, like I say, you're just going to be force fed a menu.
That's true. And with news, it is a product that is sold, and
yep.
So it will tend to be, what sells is what they put out, and sometimes it's to push a narrative.
Well, there's a credo out there I subscribe to that some friends of mine have said is basically trust no one. while it sounds pretty harsh as far as news sources and stuff, don't put your trust in one source or something like that. You're probably going to be sadly disappointed.
That's good advice. And if you hear somebody talking about, this person said this, or um, go and look up what they said exactly to make sure that it wasn't misheard or misrepresented. Is sometimes people will take part of what someone is saying and then match it to what they believe, and it maybe not intentionally misrepresents the totality of what was being said.
Mm-hmm.
So I will always try and go back to the source and look at what they said, and then even what they said around that. So
Right.
it's to make sure that it's not taken out of context.
Yeah, the context is very important a lot of times.
No doubt. And I think that, well, at least on the panel, I don't know about the audience out there, we can remember, or should be able to, right? The era, the time before sound bites. When that started to be a thing, I mean, I don't know the year, I can't even place the decade, but it seemed like that suddenly became the thing. Headlines have been shouting at us since the 19th century. I mean, it was William Randolph Hearst is the guy who said, if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
People are still referring to that. That was the late 1800s. And that kind of set the tempo, I think, for a lot of things. And if it, I don't know what it was like before. I mean, I haven't done cultural research. No one has like suggested anything to me, but there had to be a time before all of this and the pace that people were still informed, but because the world moved that much more slowly, it was that much easier to live those lives. Not that their lives were difficult, but just the amount of distraction and the amount of tension that's created, fear, as all the fear that's been created. One thing, Foss, that occurs to me that I know will be better in 2024, we're this much further out from cocoa. I mean, that improves like every day. You see fewer and fewer people who, succumbed to everything that was. And I don't mean to sidetrack this kind of thing. So I pass it back.
G-Webs, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good. Thanks for the show.
We're just kind of talking about looking back at 2023 a little bit, and then looking forward a little bit, 2024. It's ill-prepared, so we're just kind of rambling through.
Whenever I buy a new vehicle, I immediately karate kick all the mirrors off of it because I don't look back.
If you've ever seen the movie The Great Gumball Rally, Raul Julia plays an Italian, and he gets in a Ferrari. First thing he does is pull the rearview mirror off, throws it out, basically says there's nothing behind us worth looking at.
Yeah, and actually, like the joking or the humorous part aside, keeping eyes on the horizon, or at least focused forward, is not a bad way to live your life. It doesn't mean not to spend any time in recollecting things or making considerations about past personal actions or the influence of others, kind of thing. But yeah, focusing on forward movement, pioneer steps is what I call it sometimes when I'm at my lowest points. It is the slow plod of one foot after the other sometimes.
I had a thought and it just escaped me. I should take notes and stuff. I don't know.
Also in 2024, I'm getting a Segway, so none of this one foot in front of the other stuff that DJ's advocating.
What?
Segways are passe.
One of them Razor scooters. I don't know. Whatever's hip and trendy, I'm getting one of them. I ain't moving my feet, that's for sure.
I remember when the Segways were getting ready to come out, the inventor, he was on Art Bell. He had been a guest a few times before that. and talked about how it would change the way people move in
Okay.
cities.
Was it still art or was it somebody else?
Yeah, it was still Art Bell.
You remember those first advertisements? They were kind of vague and said
Mhm.
something is coming and it's going to change the way we live our lives, and it didn't really, wasn't the least bit specific, and people were wondering, what is this? What is this? And then if the day finally came and it was the announcement of the Segway, and everybody's like, what?
It
Yeah.
was kind of a letdown. I remember watching a live demo and like part of their release thing was on Good Morning America. I don't know how the hell I caught it, but I was intrigued by that thing. I mean, I didn't buy into this is going to change our world thing, but if you fast forward however many decades it's been since its introduction, if you've been in cities and see the scooter revolution, it's not a Segway, but it's the closest thing that I've seen being adopted as almost a form of mass transit, although it's the transit of individuals on individual vehicles. It's kind of fascinating.
Well, when I think of Segway, I can't help but think about Paul Blart Mall Cop. I mean,
I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen a bunch of clips.
don't bother. It's not good.
Yeah, the inventor had talked about how cities would be designed around this Segway because it was.
Didn't he end up dying on a Segway?
He did. I think
Went
he
off
drove
a
no.
cliff or something like that.
Oh shit!
one of his off-road models, and he went over a cliff.
Oh my god!
Not
That's the kind of irony that you just can't write.
Not the
It just
best
happens.
testimonial for a product. How about that?
I think I've been listening to a lot of science fiction, old science fiction audiobooks and stuff. So that's probably kind of colored the way I'm seeing, things lately. Looking at how authors from the 50s envisioned, the 80s and 90s, and then up to the 3000s and stuff. Just finished Foundation by Isaac Asimov, and it was really interesting how they started a religion in order to protect science.
Oh, really? So does that make you interested in reading any of the other foundations?
Yeah, I've got them downloaded. So I'm going to listen to the second one next.
Have you guys listened to Foundation or
No.
read it, I guess?
No.
Read it.
Sounds like I need to.
Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah, I listen to them at work. So I'll listen to, I'll get half a book. I'll listen to, it's kind of gotten now the way things are at work, one a week, and it'll take me 2 days to listen to it. It'll be 7 to 8 hours. So, 4 hours one day, 4 hours the next day.
Well, prior to 2021, I had a half-hour drive to work and a half-hour drive home. Oftentimes, I would put audiobooks in. I could get an hour's worth a day, just my commute to work, and it was really enjoyable. It made the time fly by.
And one of the things when I first started listening to audiobooks, it kind of felt like I was cheating because I wasn't actually reading them. And I looked at a few different articles, and supposedly your brain will process audiobooks the same way as if you're reading them, which I don't know if that's exactly true. It doesn't seem like it would be, but yeah.
Well, to be sure, what I do is I have the actual book open and then I listen to an audio tape while I'm watching the movie. So I make sure to absorb the book as fully as possible. And then I stand on a Braille copy of the book.
It's a literary three-way.
Sounds like it.
I think you're reading a letter to it, but I guess.
Vulcan Rumble, the Segway had a problem. It was not close enough to a motorcycle so that modern motor vehicle laws did not comply, and it particularly lacked the lack of braking system caused a problem legally.
That and when they first were introduced, they were priced so high that the average American probably couldn't afford to buy
Do you
one.
remember how much it was?
I think they were like $2,000 or $3,000.
$2,000 or $3,000, yeah.
Wow, back then. I wonder what that's adjusted now. Or what the latest impact of inflation on vehicles has been in the last 3 years. That'd be crazy.
What year was that? Let me look, see if I.
I'm going to feel that much older, Gary, when you look it up and tell us.
It was brought to the market in 2001. Wow.
Wow. Double deuce.
Sergeant Joe Smith is saying 5,000 now.
Let's
Did the
see.
conversion. Thanks for that.
Yeah, it had 3 speeds originally: 6 miles an hour, 8 miles an hour, and 10.
So then now there's those kids' toys that you stand on, and they're kids' toys, but there's things that use that tech that still exist. The ones that you had to step onto and had a handle and all that, that might work for somebody commuting or something. But if you count those times you stand on, it's like a scooter where you stand on it, and the cities have them, and you just use your credit card and you stand on it, and your credit card gets charged, and you zoom around on it, and you just leave it wherever you're at. I don't know if you count that as segways, but the idea of having like a little motor transport a person around instead of 16 people around, or a giant motor, for one person type of thing. It's still a thing.
That was an example.
It still
Sorry, go ahead.
exists. Well, it's just saying it still exists in some shape or form, just not that guy's invention anymore.
No doubt. And that's the example actually that I used, was the damn scooters that are everywhere. And I don't know that much about how they came to my community. Gary, it was actually Kansas City where I first saw them swarming around like insects around downtown, the Power and Light District. And
Indianapolis, when we were there last year, they had them all over the place. You could rent them. I mean, fairly easily. They just had rental stations, and you could rent
G-Webs is absolutely
over town.
Yeah, G-Webs is absolutely right. You can just, you pick them up here and you drop them anywhere. And it was that weekend where I first noticed them in Kansas City. I was curious. I didn't look them up, research anything or whatever. But in the early morning hours when I walked out of the hotel to have a cigarette, I saw a pickup truck, a really dilapidated one, running around and picking them up. They had half a bed full of the damn things. And I'm like, those guys, they're out there I thought they were pirating these scooter kind of things. Well, they have all kinds of tracking stuff built into them, but that was their job, was to drive around based on the GPS and load these things into their truck and take them back to wherever their main depot was, kind of thing. And I see in Omaha, I see a lot of students using them. I'm like, damn, that is so much more. That's so much cooler than a skateboard. Skateboards and bicycles. That's what I was using, kind of thing. And I just can't imagine the freedom that it provides, like instantaneous movement. I don't appreciate the cost involved, but I don't know exactly what it is.
So what are there any big stories from 2023 that stand out to you that you feel were important?
New York State Rifle and Pistol Association was 22 or 23.
I'm thinking that was 22.
I feel like it's been around for a while, but that one has a big echo still.
That's especially for the gun community. A lot of the even the bad gun laws that have been passed, they have potential to have good outcomes in the future. So is if you look at it at the aspect of they make it up to the Supreme Court and they're overturned by the Supreme Court, that sets the law that, you know, you cannot do these anti-gun things. Whereas if they stay in their own district, then it the muddled thought. Then, you know, if it doesn't get overturned, then that district deals with that bad law. Whereas if it moves its way up to the Supreme Court and is addressed by the Supreme Court, then it overturns it for them and everyone else. So I'm trying to figure out how to describe what I'm thinking. It's a temporary pain for a good solution.
We have to be in this era where the judges decide to take these cases, and the cases have to be there, but then they also have to decide to take them, right? So,
Yeah.
So, you know, this is whatever you want to call it, like the planets have to be aligned.
Caucasian Sasquatch is out there. Vulcan rumbles. He was chasing an e-bike at 45 miles an hour today.
I think it'd be cool to have like a motorbike, like an enduro or something made out of an electric motor, so it doesn't make a lot of noise.
Yeah. I mean, you hear people say that, you know, the electronic e-bikes and stuff, motorcycles are the future. It's maybe, I don't know. I'm still kind of torn because it's not the same experience. It is
Well,
instant power, instant torque.
Mm-hmm.
but if you
that
made it into a
noise-
moped and you made it a commuter vehicle so that people could, so like the scooters, you know, get to work.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be for like recreation or for utilitarian or I guess it is utilitarian as far as like commuter, but you know, it doesn't have to be for picking up groceries and stuff.
What, Foss, were you about to talk about things like exhaust note and mechanical and, you know, engine noise, that kind of thing?
Yeah, the noise and the vibration all
Mhm.
adds to that feel.
No doubt. I wonder, man, I wonder though, because we are from the era of, you know, gasoline motors kind of thing. I really do wonder how kids, okay, pause. More and more, I hear my friends and even young people's conversations, they are all ape shit about electric vehicles.
Uh-huh.
And I know that I don't see the appeal as strongly as they apparently do. And I'm not sure why. And I think that's, you know, one of the reasons that my birthday was yesterday. So I'm like kind of like thinking that I'm really old and maybe a stick in the mud about such things. But I can't believe I just don't get it. And I'm not sure why.
Well, you people born in the 1900s don't care about ruining the planet.
Yeah.
When you're talking about having it make noise and stuff, though, wouldn't it be just, I don't know if it's just as many people, but I could see it just as being offsetting or whatever, like the amount of people that don't like it potentially could be interested in a bike that doesn't make a lot of noise, the same way like having a glider. When you fly with a glider, it's quiet. You know, when you drive, even if it's not super long distance, but if you can go take a recreational drive and it's quiet, I could see that being an appeal.
Yeah.
For some people, like say some people like the noise ain't gonna like it, but people that just want to get out and ride.
I can definitely see the appeal, because like with roller coasters, that I like fast but smooth roller coasters where you're just gliding along. I don't like the ones that knock you left and right. And I would kind of equate it to that. With, you know, if you're buzzing around, you know, the curvy back roads.
Not bad. Not bad. I can sync up with that. And like the effective torque, at least for me on a motorized vehicle, and I haven't spent a lot of time in electric vehicles, for God's sake, or hybrids even kind of thing. But there is something about the translation of that torque through the frame of a vehicle. Being able to be part of that and knowing that son of a bitch is trying to tear itself out just feet away from you, kind of thing, that's a really great feeling. And when you move that engine and you are on two wheels, kind of thing, you're that much more tuned into what's going on, as well as the gyroscopic effect that happens on two wheels, and having to pay attention to that and knowing that with your right hand or your right foot, you're and the brake, I suppose, as well, you're really flirting with danger anytime you want to. So the thrill of the chase kind of thing, whether it be like, I don't know who it was that was chasing down an e-bike sort of thing, but rat racing on streets, drag racing at the airport, all of those things, it's the thrill. And Foz, I think that's what you started off with, how it feels great. It's exhilarating.
I had heard, people talk about how fast the, like Teslas are because they're instant torque. And I understand the principle of it and why that should be true. And then I saw it in person just a few months ago. I was sitting at a stoplight and there's a Tesla that crossed in front of me and they had gunned it. And oh Lord, the instant speed was amazing.
Like how fast it moved away from you.
Yeah. Well, it was crossing in front of me and I wasn't looking at it. I just, the motion caught my eye and just all of a sudden, boom, it's gone. Like, wow.
Yeah, it seemed like drag races set up between e-vehicles and like naturally aspirated gasoline engines. It's a mind blower. And I was trying to think of what projects past the sort of vehicles that we're talking about for individual transportation. Guys, until it gets off the ground, I think we have just a few more steps left in what we're doing. And then it is going to be like things like flight. And I'm not trying to go total sci-fi wacko on this. It's not going to be in my lifetime, likely, maybe even not the next one. But think about the complications that would create and how now we rely on not just our, local enforcement, but state regulations and federal regulations on our vehicles, sort of thing. I can't imagine how the management of all of that is going to remain effective once you also have the challenge of trying to police or regulate vertical space. I think the only thing that kind of comes close that we're thinking about now when it comes to legality or regulation is drones. Like those are the only things really that are individual vehicles, though you're not in them, that you can go vert like that for, pennies kind of thing compared to any other larger vehicles. So I don't know, maybe that was tangential, but so I was thinking.
That's something, I've thought about in the past few years, the flying cars and how they, from, the early days, people have been imagining flying cars in cities. And I think I just am not able to conceive of how to make that mesh. I understand, computers will be the key. Probably AI moving ahead on how to make these so they don't crash into each other and crash into buildings. But to me, it just seems like a nightmare scenario of, 10,000 flying cars trying to occupy a space in an overcrowded city.
Yeah, there's so little of how that, like the inner workings of the system in like science fiction that I've read, mostly viewed. I mean, there are things like law enforcement, Judge Dredd, others, where they show what it's like to have a regulated transportation system like that. But I think that that's incredibly fanciful at this point, and I can't project in the future enough to understand where that might be. Yeah,
we grew up with cars that are normal, and they were the same cars as the cars that were invented almost, except they were nicer. But think about a Model T and a 1965 Mustang or something, and then think of like a, I don't know, 1990 something. But then we already have cars that can drive themselves. We already have these Teslas and stuff that can drive themselves. So taking it to the next step, I mean, I don't see. I mean, it's definitely not stopping where we're at. So I don't see it being that complicated. I think if you think of like birds or fish or something that schools or flocks, those brains on those birds aren't trying to keep track of the swarm. They're trying to keep track of their own self, and they become a swarm when you look at them as a third person from afar. So I think the cars don't have to know everything about not knocking into each other. They just have to have some kind of a simple logic that stops them from crashing into things around them. And then the result is a bunch of cars act normally above them. But anyway, I think it's not that big a stretch to go from what we have with driving cars, and we just talk about segways and drones and stuff. Like, I don't think it's that hard to think that we'll have something that levitates. All we really need to do is break gravity. And, if gravity is a force that's created by mass, if you can create artificial mass by, I don't know, electronic means or means of heat or some other means, we haven't discovered things. But all we have to do is counter the mass, and things float. So, it seems like science fiction, but so does an iPhone to like any of us in the 1980s. We'd go, or, maybe the 80s, but when we were young, we'd look at an iPhone and go, what? Look at the pictures on here. Like, we know that it's glass and metal, but what's the magic? So I think that, again, we'll break that. That's just something that, just like flying airplanes, we thought, oh, there's no way to fly airplanes until we fly massive airplanes, and now we don't think twice that Ospreys and helicopters and stuff exist. So I think that we'll just figure out how to break mass and have things float, and then it'll be like, oh, what were we thinking about? Now we just have to make these floating things not smack into each other. Oh, okay, as long as things can't turn left into each other, then nothing can crash. I think it'll be something like as simple as that. We're just not seeing it because we're not playing with those tools yet. I'll shut up.
But there are some of those tools that exist, and I like the points you were making there, like the anti-crash kind of thing. I mean, I don't own one, but I've been in vehicles where it'll have lane indicators, like somebody's too close to you or whatever, give you different kinds of warnings. And that's pretty science fiction for me. The first time I was in that, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And there's, I mean, I don't know how those kind of technologies would be used for anything other than safety, but my curiosity is far more there than how it actually happens. And gee, I've been reading about anti-grav units in sci-fi since I was a little kid, and I can't wait for that stuff. Foss?
I was just going to say, I remember back in right about 2000, 2001-ish, I went to the Sony building in Tokyo, and you could see their upcoming technology. And the cell phones that they had, it was the Japanese cell phones. They're a little bit different than the ones you see in the US. They had built-in cameras, and that's when, if you wanted a camera, it plugged into the bottom of your Nokia. But they had it already built in, and they were already coming out with the ability to watch TV on your cell phone, which was amazing at the time, because before then, basically your cell phone just made calls. And that was kind of right at the end when even pagers had just disappeared. And I forgot why I was going to tell that story.
Of course, a lot of that has to do with the capability of the wireless systems at the time and the amount of data they could transmit. You remember back when you first had the ability on your cell phone to send text messages or browse web pages, it was all text based, and they would charge an arm and a leg just for your ability to do this. You paid per text. You paid for 1,000 texts for like $50 or whatever, and people would pay this stuff, and speeds were slow. So yeah, although video capability may have been there, the ability to have networks transmit that data at a speed which would serve you a decent image didn't exist. And now, over the last 10 years, cell phone towers, with higher capabilities, there's more of them. You had, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, I mean, all kinds of capabilities, and prices have dropped for cell phone plans, stuff like that. So a lot of things have come together to make technology more accessible for us. It's more than just the machines themselves. It's the infrastructure that supported them.
The infrastructure, absolutely, and the technology that drives that as well, Foss.
I was just gonna say garage guys out there, and that's one of the limiting things for electronic vehicles is we don't really have the infrastructure right now for everybody to have an electric car. The power grid cannot take it.
Well, and the irony that it takes a fossil fuel to generate the station, the power for the stations that charge electric vehicles. I mean, I don't know what the answer to that is, hydrogen or some other damn thing over time. But one of the things we're... Go ahead.
One word for you: nuclear.
Now, all right. A man who has firsthand experience for sure. Also, and it's kind of been touched on, but not specifically pointed out, miniaturization. Like, oh my God. First it's the Dick Tracy watch kind of thing that was going on. That was in the 30s, for God's sake. His wrist communication kind of thing. And now everybody, like a lot of people walk around with a freaking Fitbit watch thing, whatever. I mean, I didn't buy into it. I'm not like trying to scoff necessarily at people who are embracing that technology, but it's, that's about 100 years. And G, you were mentioning, like vehicles, we didn't know what this was like beforehand. And you also used the example of flight. Well, Model T, Model A, that's a little over 100 years ago. And look how we have folded time and technology to get where we are now. 100 years hence, we're talking about the potential ability that maybe within our lifetimes, maybe our children's lifetimes, we'll have individual flight as an option. Like, that's some amazing stuff. And
if you look at, I forget what the name for the law is, but every 18 months the processor speed doubles. And now, as they're moving into quantum computers,
that's Moore's law.
Yes, with 2 O's.
Then will that exponentially increase the rate of change?
I think it's exponential. I think that there's a relationship there for sure. And that 18 months thing, I think that it's less than that now. And that had far more, that prediction or suggestion, supposition, had way more to do with, at that time, circuitry. G-Webs, I know you've talked about it, and I've seen documentaries about it. Computers in their early days, they were so huge, and they were using, these are rudimentary machines, okay? But they were using, vacuum tubes, for God's sake. We're not only not using vacuum tubes, they're barely being manufactured in the anywhere in the world right now. But everything has gotten so tiny. Like the kind of things, when I was building like x86 machines in the early 80s, the IBM clones and whatnot, those boards were huge. And now all of that, plus its processing power being just smoking everything from then, quite obviously, it's tiny. We're back to the RISC thing. The computing power that's available in those miniaturized things. Now, I have a show and tell. Okay, we were talking about how technology and now Foss, I really love that, the 18-month turn, and I think it is less than that. Okay, this is 1987. This is out of Japan. This is a Sony Watchman from 1987. Look, this is like what? Like a 2-inch screen? When these things came out, I don't remember how freaking expensive they were. They were ridiculous. And my dad bought one back then, and I happen to have it now. The tuning was not yet digital. It's a little dial. So this, to somebody who was used to wearing a mono earpiece, a transistor radio, and put it in their shirt pocket kind of thing, things like this, and the Walkman itself, for audio, that's just crazy. Them MP3 players, I could go on and on, so I need to shut the hell up. But Sony Watchman, y'all, can't pick up anything on it anymore.
I had a portable TV my granddad gave me, which is probably older than that because it was larger. The screen was about the same size. I don't remember how big the screen was, but probably about the same size, and it ran off like 12D batteries.
I've figured out a way into the future to use a portable cheese sandwich made out of a quesadilla and melted cheese. So we are living in the future.
Are you going to be eating those all to yourself? And is there some like new technology that allows you to zap them from Arizona to Nebraska before the dog gets them?
I'm pretty sure nobody else here is interested in eating these, so I'll be eating these by myself. But I just wanted to also say I hope everybody's okay that I'm eating some cheese quesadillas while we're
Are
talking.
you gonna do it with a tiny fork,
I got
tiny
a tiny-
cutlery? Oh, Christ.
Garage guys. Many feel the printing press and computer microchips are the biggest invention of human history.
Yeah. The offset press, I mean, I'll go with that. And that's certainly at least something that's still, still being suggested and taught. And I can't imagine all of a sudden things require being codified and things like fonts are developed. Think about the influence of that now for everything that we use and all the alternatives that is provided. It's freaking amazing. I love this conversation. And I want a quesadilla, but just not that small.
I saw a quote about when books, after the printing press was invented and books were coming out, that there were people that felt that books would make kids lazy because they would just sit around reading all day instead of being out doing stuff.
They're certainly
That's
not going to go to
brilliant.
church anymore if they don't have to read at church. They're going to just read whenever they want. That can't be good.
Well, and G-Webs, interesting. You mentioned the church. Before print or print being widely available, they were the disseminators of information almost more than any other institution. Information being passed through church, through religion. That was something that continued to happen. I mean, how the Catholics reigned for so long. They controlled the information. They controlled books. I'm not trying to be anti-Catholic. It happened in other religions and other spheres as well. But the dissemination of information, how we can just go out and grab whatever we want now. I can't imagine the things that kids are able to do these days that I would love to have been able to do when I was a kid. I spent days and days in the summer doing nothing but laying on my stomach and reading books. I don't do that anymore. And we're talking in this cast earlier about listening to books. That was available at the time, but not as ubiquitous as it is now. And also just the physical media that was required back then to listen to something. I mean, I was in the cassette era, so I wasn't trying to do the LP thing, although it existed in some small examples like children's records, read along story kind of things that was when I was that much younger. But now I remember getting the first like e-reader little tablet things, predecessors to Kindles and whatnot, and how I was just like, wow, you can put 100 books on here, sort of thing. And now you can carry half a library on your cell phone. It's crazy, and you can access so much more with a web connection.
Garage guy. Wasn't the Gutenberg Bible the first printed book? I believe it was.
That sounds right.
Ozzy says printing is overrated. For those who don't know, Ozzy works in a printing shop.
It's a fad. One of these days, people will stop it reading it.
Well, think about newsstands, G. I mean, I know you're being a little, facetious there, sort of thing, creating some humor, but I used to enjoy the days where you could walk into the average bookstore and the magazine racks would be 15, 20 feet long. And how many, I mean, you guys can imagine them. We're about the same age. We're in the same age cluster. How many rows, going up on those stacked shelves did we see things, all those colors, all those covers, the way that information was transferred. And now I can't stand digital versions of magazines. I don't hold a single one.
I still prefer physical media. There's a TV show, CSI. The main dude on CSI mentioned that he prefers physical media because when you're looking at the computer, you tend to lean forward. And if you're holding physical media, you'll lean back when you read it. And for me, that's a truth. That, if I'm looking at the computer, I'm always, leaning on the desk and leaning forward. But if I have a physical copy of whatever it is, then I'll lean back and relax while I'm looking at it.
I can relate to that.
So part of this is I'm killing time because I know Larry doesn't get off work until midnight, and then we'll jump in. So I was waiting because there's gonna be a bracket.
What?
Whoosh.
I misunderstood. I thought you said there's going to be a bracket.
I did say there's gonna be a bracket.
I might need to rest up for this.
An end
Quick
of the
nap.
year bracket. Everyone's dreams came true.
Farewell.
Ozzy,
Is this because there's so many emails urging you to have the end of the year bracket that you gave in finally?
no, not exactly, and we'll cover it when we get to the bracket. Ozzy, I've been in the printing business for 45 years. It's a dying art. Yeah, if you look at newspapers,
Mm-hmm.
our local newspapers have gotten, they're half the thickness that they used to be.
I recognize that. One of my family members still gets 3 daily papers and a couple of weeklies. And those things have narrowed themselves down, especially the smaller town and county seat publications. They're down to like 6 and 8 pages sometimes. And a
Yeah.
trend that I've noticed as well is publishers conglomerating. They eat up the smaller printing houses and newspapers and whatnot, and they're starting to use even more centralized information that's really specific. And it's kind of weird because we're used to a system that used to draw from AP and UPI. There were certain reporting outlets that we relied on. It wasn't first person. It wasn't direct observation news reporting kind of thing. So there's a trust that needed to be developed there. And now in the Omaha newspaper, there are bylines that come out of Sioux City, Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa, Kansas City, Missouri. So they're not even, their employee base is shrunk. The way they do reportage is completely changed. And there are very few local staff writers that are left. And we're a city of like 1 million. And the World Herald is our local paper. There is no other local paper. There is only one paper that comes close, and we are, a sparsely populated state, and that's the state capital paper. And that thing's a shadow compared to the one here. So I do think we'll see a demand. Go ahead.
The local newspaper, the Olympian, was taken over by the Tacoma News Tribune, which is about half hour north. And when that first happened, the two papers were identical, all the same pictures, all the same stories. Now there's a little bit of diversity between the two, but they're still running basically exactly the same stories and stuff. And it's all printed out of where the News Tribune is. Now.
Have you seen those videos where there are news stories that will break and it will show like this network in this city, different network, different city, and then it brings them all together and they're all repeating the same lines? It's the same exact stuff. Like, I don't like that, man. I need some flavor in everything. Go ahead.
There was a time when, the papers were the thing. So you'd have papers, how would you say, like papers rose to the demand of the readers or like what people wanted, right? So you'd have a left-leaning one and a right-leaning one, for example, or maybe one that was all financial news and one that was all lifestyle and one that was all business, something, and one that was all sports. You'd have because people were reading papers, that was the thing. You had variety in what. So that means there's a diverse audience, but it also means you got competition. So if you want to be the conservative newspaper versus the liberal newspaper, maybe you got to compete with some other. You're always going to be competing with the liberal newspapers because you're a different topic, but now that maybe there's different versions of the conservative newspaper you got to compete with. So I just think there was a lot more going on. And when you got a market, you've got whatever, stuff that reacts and deals with that market. But as people quit reading the newspapers physically and started getting their news elsewhere, now you've got less and less and fewer people. I suspect that the people who still read a newspaper are not as diverse as back in the day when everyone had to read a newspaper because that's all we got. And we had, everyone was trying to get news and the newspaper was the only option. Where now, who has a newspaper? Probably like waiting rooms, places that have them traditionally for some reason, like, I don't know, maybe like a car service or something, or you know what I mean? Like where somebody's going to be waiting, you're going to put a newspaper there to give them current, something to look at so that they don't get bored. So those kind of things that unless they can change to a tablet or something, it's not practical for some people to change to a tablet. You're going to need a newspaper, so it's going to fill that role. Well, now you're talking such few people that there's no need to have a left and a right and a sports oriented one, that right? You're just going to get the one. And if you're just going to do one to cover all bases, it's going to be like USA Today. It's going to be like a little bit of everything and useless because it's
Wow, great example.
right. It has to be like, I can't offend anybody, but I got to also appeal to everybody. So the best I can do is everything's great. Here's a little glimpse of everything. Everything's always perfect, because it can't be doom and gloom and still be useful for what I'm talking about. It has to be positive. But, I guess that's what I'm getting at is that, the smaller pool, you're just going to have less options and fewer people are even interested in the pools. And I imagine some people are buying newspapers because that's what I wrap my fish in, or that's what I, put it in a bird cage. So do they even read the paper? They're looking for a consistent source of resource. They're getting the newspaper because it's an inexpensive way to get a resource developed to their, or maybe I get the newspaper because I give the newspaper to my friend down the street who uses it as a kitty litter thing, so I'm going to keep getting my newspaper subscription because there's another use for that paper. And
now, how many people are like me? I subscribe to the local paper too, but I have a totally electronic subscription. I go download a PDF every week and read the local paper.
And Gary, when did you transition to that sort of thing? Like, how did you adopt that?
Every week, PDF in a different place. Sometimes it's in your email. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's in a.
Probably several years ago when I lived in Linden, and their paper was all well, even when Mom was alive, she had an electronic subscription. I remember because she took the hard copy paper, but you got a free sign on to the electronic subscription, and she shared it with I and my sisters so we could read the paper for free. Then I found out my local paper up where I lived was doing it too. And I've just done that ever since. For one thing, it's considerably cheaper to do that than to get a paper copy. Plus, you can actually read it the night before it comes out, which is kind of cool. You can read the Thursday paper Wednesday night. So
the big thing, weekend editions, I think,
before you buy the tickets.
I used to enjoy, particularly on Friday nights, because and Saturdays too, our biggest newspaper is this Sunday. I think that's the way it is in most communities. And you could buy the paper because they're starting to distribute it from the presses themselves. You could smell the ink. Well, you used to be able to. You go buy it on the corner from somebody who was standing there at the loading docks while the newspapers are going out. You could pick it up starting, I think, at 10:30. And so back in the days, hunting for apartments or cars, that was the strategy to go get the newspaper. But and speaking of that kind of thing, in you guys' communities, do you still have newspaper boxes, like coin-op ones, anywhere?
I don't know if there still are or not, to tell you the truth. Now, most of your convenience stores will have a rack with a few you pick up there, but I don't know that I've seen a coin-op machine in ages. Used to be, lots of businesses had them, out in front. The hotels, motels, gas stations had them. Because we used to, when we'd stay up late and party till 1 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 2 a.m., and you'd still be awake when the newspaper people from out of town would come into town with the bundles of paper and throw them, And it's like, here's tomorrow's paper. And they'd fill the machines. We could actually watch them fill the machines and stuff. But I think that's a thing of the past. I don't think they print. Circulation's got to be a fraction of what it used to be. But the thing is, people have access. You can think about it. Now, most small town newspapers are online anymore, available if you pay for access to them. But you can literally sit in your home and read any newspaper. If I want to read the Omaha newspaper, if I wanted to pay for it, I'm sure I could. I could read the New York City news, any of that stuff. I contrast that with when I was in college. One of my favorite things to do, now this was back in 1978, mind you, but there was a store downtown called the Town Crier, and it was basically a news newsstand news store. It was a physical store in the downtown, and they
Mhm.
just had every major newspaper, New York, Chicago, Washington. It was fascinating to go in there and be able to look at all these different newspapers from around the world. And nowadays, you can do that sitting in your home.
Yeah,
Carolina
Gary, but
ABC.
and like Foss was saying, the physical media thing, and the way I was describing those racks of magazines, and you're bringing it back to life with the stacks of newspapers and things. I could remember going to newsstands. You could spend hours and hours looking at things. It was amazing.
Oh gosh, when I was in high school, I used to have to hang, you had those sticks that the papers hang off of, those racks.
Hmm.
And I was a library aide for one semester, and I actually had to do that every morning. Come in there and take the old paper off, put the newspaper on. That was just super cool. And yeah, us kids would read that stuff, in our study halls and stuff like that. We'd go grab Kansas City paper, St. Louis paper, or whatever. And, it's a great research tool and time killer, if nothing else. I mean, you wasn't exactly wasting your mind reading a newspaper. They knew that. You were learning whether you wanted to or not, honing your
There
reading
was
skills. There's something, and I think you're alluding to this. There is something to holding a piece of paper with a bunch of print in front of you, and your eyes instantly see all these stories, and you get attracted to this story or that story. And then you'll read it. And if it continues on page 16, if it's really interesting, you might turn to page 16 and read the rest of this. And it was just a fascinating way to consume news that I don't think kids nowadays have a clue how, they just consume headlines off of, whatever social media and click this link and go there to this story. And they
well,
don't know the little nuances of news that we used to, we took for granted back in the day.
and I agree with all of that. And I think that Foss alluded to that with it was a quote or an observation by somebody else as well, kind of thing about. Started to lose my train of thought there. Damn it. Back to you guys.
One of my, I don't know if it's my favorite quotes, but was by Thoreau, who said he doesn't read the newspaper because the news is the same every day. Somebody gets killed, there's a murder, and I don't remember the quote exactly, but it's kind of true. I mean, I will look at, see headlines and stuff, and maybe I'll look at the story, maybe not. And I don't really go and seek out headlines and up to date news and stuff. Because the majority of it doesn't affect me, and there's a lot of it that is. I don't know if I'll say designed to create fear, but there's a lot of it
Mm-hmm.
that will, anger or fear, and I'm not interested.
But
Yeah, and emotional responses are that they're digging at that. Going back to the Hearst idea that I offered, and I do remember where I got back on track. It was the making people stupid kind of thing over time. The less they're engaged with both physical media and the written word and the kind of length, like Gary was referring to, page 16 is a thing that there is, and I don't agree that people are less intelligent, but there is sort of a loss of the sort of detail that Gary's also referring to, the kind of details we would pick up on by there being more to consume. Trying to get something down to 4 paragraphs, I've written that. I know how to do that. It doesn't feel good. It leaves so much behind. And you guys know what getting DJ'd is like. I mean, I would have even more to say if I didn't have an editor.
but I mean, it's not just that, but just think of back in the day. Most of us are old enough to remember the heavy consumption of newspapers, and it was more than just news. I mean, you got everything from your news to, you had your hard news, you got the sports news. Kids had the comic section they could read. If you were interested in deep detail in sports, you could read box scores from every game in every city. There were recipes, there were crossword puzzles, there were advice
Comics.
columns. You know, you could ask Ann Landers what to do, and your kid won't mind you and stuff like that. And they, you know, or what wine to pick with the meat you're serving that day. I mean, literally everything, any kind of
Comics,
information you would want
horoscopes,
was in the
classifieds.
classifieds. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Com-
and I'm looking at one of the newspapers that I referred to earlier, and it is my hometown paper. And this publication was 12 pages, and as you can see, this is half a broadsheet. It's tabloid folded, but this isn't even half of one
No.
newspaper. Yeah, run. And so, one of the things was, you were listing off those things that I used to love to read in this thing was the community news from the even smaller places,
Oh
like
yeah.
the villages,
You'd have
unincorporated towns.
correspondents in each place that would write columns. Yeah.
Yes, and they would do the kind of thing. It was so interesting and colloquial and like kind of cute, because it was almost always women, and it was social reporting. So it would be like, Eunice and Beulah May hosted cribbage at their house on Tuesday. It was that small, and that kind of local flavor, that color of the folks who were still providing at least the social aspect of some of that. And I find that what my newspaper does now, there's not a lot of news in here. What it serves to do for the community is provide a place where they can publish pictures of their children, school activities and the like. You mentioned the classified ads, and I hope this isn't terribly noisy. That's one of the biggest portions of the paper now, and none of them are local. It's all like ads, except for the small section down here that are smaller than a business card. So what this leaves me with is not really any sort of news that's usable on anything other than brief mentions of county and state news. The rest of it is all that kind of social stuff, just in a form that kind of imitates the reporting that was going on before. So if you need to know about the class of 2036, the week 6 football contest winners, or pizza puzzles and pub night on October 21st at the local library, sort of thing, it's still there.
But I do genealogy as a sideline, have for years, and I have a subscription to a website called newspapers.com, and it is literally scanned newspapers going back, well, even back into the 1800s and stuff like that. Literally just a repository of old newspapers, totally searchable by text and everything else. You can, back in the 30s or 40s, if somebody got married, there'd be a half a page article on everybody who was at that wedding, what kind of dress the bride was wearing, blah, blah, blah. I mean, great detail. You just don't see an awful lot of stuff like that anymore. And from a historical perspective, I mean, it was so easy to go back and get information. And they'd go into detail about the most minuscule stories and stuff like that, where you just don't see that anymore. They just hit the high spots.
And you can get lost in that world. It really does create, and I know the databases that you're talking about, Gary. My dad's big into genealogy, so I've had to do things. And that reminds me of another version of technology changing. The early genealogical research that I participated in with him, it was books. The Mormons have done a great job of keeping track of all these things. And then it was microfiche and microfilm, for God's sake. The same things you're talking about, newspaper prints, like searching for those on microfiche, that was so inefficient.
Still there. I had to go to the Emporia Public Library 2 years ago because it wasn't online anywhere, but they told you, okay, we have it on microfiche 2947 frame B12, and you'd literally sit down at this machine and go get in a drawer, old school, find this microfiche, put it in there. And the only cost was if you wanted to print out a copy, then it was like 35 cents a sheet or something.
As a kid, that was always cool. Turn the little dial and the little pictures going across.
Yeah, those things are still in existence, believe it or not.
Yeah, in like those architecture drawers kind of thing where you slide them out and they all have their own little boxes and whatnot. I'm glad that we all have shared. Check in if you've done that sort of thing. It's interesting that we've all had that experience and how that's also a disappearing form. Referring one more time back to my hometown newspaper, when the family, because it was a family-owned paper since like the 5th year the thing was in publication in the mid-19th century, When that family finally retired and sold the newspaper, they had kept physical copies. They didn't all exist from the first one, but there was like almost 100 years worth of publications there. And they didn't separate them so much as they just had a stack, and they put the most recent, this is a weekly, they put one, 1 week went on top of the next one, and the next one and the next one. And when the papers got too tall, they blocked them off with a 2x4 caging system. And what fascinated me, I wasn't able to be in there at the very end, but when I was a young boy, I was able to go back into that room, and that was amazing. And I have no idea what happened to any of those things, but the disposal of those things as well it's getting to the point where it's wholesale, and almost nobody wants to preserve any of those things, and it does end up being the bulk that just disappears. It's landfill. It's fodder now. It's crazy.
So to transition slightly, recently, was it last week? Gaston Glock passed away. And a lot of people hate Glocks. A lot of people love Glocks. I own one, and I do like them. My only problem with Glocks is I'm not a big fan of striker fired guns, so that's why I only have one. But
Why?
the
Safety or the trigger?
the system. I prefer a hammer.
I mean, because of its safety, because of the concern of carrying it, or because of the operation, like your interface with it. You don't like the
little bit
triggers type of thing.
A little bit, probably a little bit of the safety. It's just, my limited handgun experience, I learned that with a hammer. I'm comfortable with a hammer. I like the way the hammer works. The striker fire, I don't think there's anything wrong with the mechanical system of a striker fire. I'm just, even like dry fire, that prank noise that it makes, I hate that. But I'm not saying that nobody should own them or use them. Like I said, I own one, my G20, and it's one of my favorite guns that I own. And I think the G48 was the first Glock that I ever fired, and I like the way it felt. It shot really well for me. So I'm not a Glock hater. But I really want to read the book Glock, can't remember the title of it. The Glock
The
book.
Rise of America's Gun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great book. If you haven't
It's
read
everybody that I've heard talk about it says it's good, and so I really.
It's about the Glock, but it's really about guns in America. It's just it's from the look of hey, let's look over the shoulder of Glock at Guns in America.
To honor Gaston Glock, I thought we would do
Glock giveaway.
So we'll do a Glocks in movies bracket. And I looked at movies that people hopefully have heard of, actors holding the Glocks that hopefully people have heard of, and pictures of those actors in that movie that I could easily find. So that's kind of how I chose the ones I did.
Now, is it going to be okay/legal for Glock haters to even listen to this bracket?
You gonna kick me out? I'm one of those.
Garage Guy, I'm not a Glock fanboy, but they do work well, especially Gen 3 models. And Ozzy has read the book and says it's very good. He
meant the binding was very good, and he liked the way that the edges of the paper were cut.
Let me open up the. There we go. So we have American Psycho, Christian Bale with the G17. There's the model of the Glocks are not so much important because most of them are G17s because that's what everybody used in the movies. And when you look at a Glock, I cannot really tell this Glock from that Glock because they all look the same to me. Some are a little more
That's
rounded.
Glockist. It's Glockist.
Yeah.
That is Glockist.
If you admit it, I guess that's okay.
You beat me to it.
Yeah.
So, American Psycho, Christian Bale with the G17. We've got the A-Team. And what's his face? Cooper? Can't think of his first name.
He's
With
face,
a-
though, so that's true.
Yeah.
DB
With-
Cooper.
No, not DB Cooper.
Who's
With the
that, too?
G17. And Will Smith from Bad Boys 2 with two two-tone G17s.
Oh, those were Glocks? I never
Yeah.
even paid attention. Okay.
And Bill Murray in The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou
That
with
sounds pretty-
G17s. We've got Angelina Jolie from The Bone Collector with a
What is this
G17.
movie? Is this a good movie? I've never seen
I
it.
don't know. I've never seen it, but I knew people would know who she was and maybe knew what The Bone Collector was. I remember the name, but I never watched it.
Did Laura Croft carry?
Got a bone for you, Angelina.
I love that mag light she's holding there. It's old school.
Guess who's thinking about how to do a review for that light right now?
Yeah, I've got a mag light.
Stallone from Get Carter with a G17.
Oh, I forgot about that movie. That's a good movie.
Forgettable.
It's a
You didn't
remake.
like that movie?
Yeah.
Oh, he hates movies about New York.
Julianne Lewis in Hannibal with a G17.
Look at that grip. Come on.
I actually saw Hannibal in Tokyo. It was the first time I ever sat in a theater with stadium seating, which
And
crazy.
As the only American leaving, everyone was looking at you. Funny.
Oh, poor Bubba's out there in the audience. He hates Glocks.
So we've got Ice Cube from Friday with the Glock 22. And Will Smith from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Wow, that's a reach. I didn't know that was even a thing.
Will Ferrell with a G17. He plays, his character's name is Marshall Willenholly, which was a nod to Land of the Lost with Marshall Willenholly.
On a routine expedition.
We've got John Wick, Reeves with the G26.
Good gun, but bad movie.
Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible 3 with a G17.
If you're not training like this, are you even training?
And there's 16 of them, and I've kind of lost count, so I'm not sure how many more there are. Resident Evil Final Chapter, Mia Jovovich with a G17.
Winner, right there. It's the winner.
Skyfall with Daniel Craig with a G17.
Is that a Glock? Come on. Come on. Come on.
Super Troopers, Brian Cox with a G17. Training Day with Denzel Washington with a G19.
You're the one who smoked it?
I've never watched that movie.
Yeah,
pretty good.
I like it.
True Lies, Arnold
Even though it's about New York.
Schwarzenegger
Or no, it's not about New York, so DJ does like it.
with a G17. I think that's the last one. Yep, that's the last one. So as you vote, you can choose.
As if Arnold would need to hold 2 hands on a 9mm. Come on, what fake?
You don't. I mean, you can kind of choose however you want, whether you like the movie, the actor, the gun. It's kind of however you want to judge it. And let me go back and say hi to Bubba Triclops Ballistics.
I feel like I'll be voting for Bubba because he's trying to. I'm sure he wishes he could vote on these clocks.
2 live move.
Move.
Yeah, Mike McClue.
Mike, right on.
He has a Gen 3 G17, but it feels like holding a brick. They are kind of brickish, but I don't know. I like my G20.
Can I put an idea out there or a suggestion, whatever?
Sure.
When we get down to 4, can you throw a poll out there for the people watching to be part of it?
Sure. Just remind me.
I'm not saying I'll remember, but I'll try.
And so let me share.
Yeah, while you're grabbing that, I'm like with Mike. The ergo on Glocks just doesn't agree with me. It's just not a thing. I have the same thing that happens with CZs though. So it's not Glock specific. I just like to hate on them.
Have you ever
don't
thought
have to
about
have a
going
gun
in
on
and
your head.
having surgery? If you remove a couple of bones from this area, then it's going to be a very comfortable fit for you.
So let me shuffle. Bunch of
It
times.
really hurts a lot because they can't put you under for this particular bone removal surgery. So
Damn.
they'll put you into a contraption that holds you permanently like this, and they'll give you a piece of leather to bite on, and then they're going to saw a piece of bone out of here, and it'll take weeks to heal, if not months to heal. But then it'll be super comfortable.
Man, I thought you were about to like talk about removing a ribs for something else. I'm glad you went with the fingers.
That's to carry a Taurus, but Gizzard will have to give you the info on there.
All right. Our first matchup is Friday with the G22 and American Psycho, the G17. Gary.
Oh, let's go with American Psycho.
DJ.
Friday, absolutely. Craig Jones is his character.
G-Webs.
I would say both of these movies are about equally as far away from my favorite movie, but in different directions or whatever. But if I'm going to watch them ever again, I'm only watching Friday. I have no interest in really watching Psycho. I've watched it a few times, but I don't like that movie, so I'm going to go with just the movie I like better, Friday.
I'm going to go with Friday also. I haven't seen American Psycho.
Oh, really? It's worth watching. I don't know. It's weird. I think it's a dream. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but it's a weird movie, but it's not sci-fi enough for me, so I don't watch it. There's a better one. The sequel is way better. It's got that one.
Yeah, it's all imaginary in his head.
It might be. I don't know. It's supposed to be trippy, I guess, but I don't find it all that interesting. It was good at the time, I think, but now there's so many other movies that are way cooler that it lost its appeal somewhere beyond the age, I guess.
And if there's a tie, then we'll go out to the chat to break the tie.
I definitely recommend it as a good movie, though. I mean, I don't like it, but I think it is a good movie. It's worth watching. You might really like it.
It's well composed. Well composed for sure. And great to have Gary on, to be on panel with Gary tonight, because there are folks that use one of the most famous lines from Friday on his panel often, and that is, "Bye, Felicia." That's one of that character's lines.
Yeah, I would have loved to have done just straight Glock versus Glock, but I can't tell the difference between the Glocks. You know, you can kind of tell this gen from that gen, you know.
Your Glockism.
But I can't tell the difference. So
Are you saying that all Glocks look the same to you?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
If I took 2 different Glocks, so I took a G17 and a G43, and I scaled them to be the same size, if they're the same generation, you probably wouldn't know the difference.
Well, that doesn't count. That's the only way to know the difference is by how long they are or whatever.
Yeah. I'm just saying. So we've got Skyfall in the G17, and Mission Impossible with the G17. I believe it was G17. G17. Gary.
I'm not a Tom Cruise fan at all, so let's go with Skyfall here.
DJ.
I'm not a fan of Daniel Craig, so I'll go with Mission Impossible.
G-Webs.
I equally don't like both of these movies. I don't like what they do with James Bond in that one, and I don't really like what Gary said. I don't like that dude that much. I don't hate him, but he's not all that great. Plus, neither one of these guns is better than the other. I can't give my vote to the audience with 4 people, so I will vote with whatever the audience says. And right now, there's only Mike voting for Skyfall. So if you want to vote, I'll just let the audience vote for me. How about that?
I thought Skyfall the song was better than Skyfall the movie, but I'm gonna vote for Skyfall.
If I had to, I would probably vote for Skyfall. Now that I'm thinking about it, it was okay, but I just don't like that guy either.
An Adele fan. Okay.
Well, I'm not a huge Adele fan. I didn't care for the movie.
Is that the one where they're running on top of that big dome in Europe or in England?
I can't keep straight. I know they end up in the back in Scotland. That's where the end fight is.
It looks like my vote's gonna go to James Bond.
Larry Knopf is out there. I tried to delay Larry so you wouldn't miss the bracket.
Only missed the
Hasn't missed
first
much.
round.
Yeah.
One round.
Just getting started.
But yeah, Mike and Ozzy both said Skyfall. So now we've got Hannibal with the G17 versus True Lies G17. Gary.
True Lies.
DJ.
Thomas Harris is a great writer. I'm with Hannibal.
G. Webbs.
What do you call Hannibal? A thriller? Mystery? Anyway, whatever that kind of movie is, I don't like it. It's boring.
Psychological thriller, maybe?
Yeah, I hate
Oh,
it.
nice one, boss.
And I happen to like True Lies a lot, so I'm gonna go with True Lies. I always thought that was a cool, cutting edge movie when it came out.
I will say True Lies also. I like True Lies better than Hannibal.
Hannibal was definitely not of that, we'll just call it a trilogy, loosely kind of thing. It was as engaging as the others, but I just don't feel it was as good. And part of that's because I was turned off very early in the film. Go ahead.
From my vague memory, I will probably say Red Dragon I liked better than Hannibal.
Oh, that's right. Hannibal isn't the first one, huh? Hannibal is like one of the following ones. So I might like Hannibal more than one of the others, but I don't.
Third.
You gotta they gotta make the person really dumb or something in order to keep the movie going. They just don't do obvious things like, oh, if you could just call the police right away, this would have never happened. They always ask too much of me to watch these movies usually.
See, Bubba couldn't stay away. He was drawn in by the Glock talk.
And gee, I think it's drawn a lot tighter than that. I mean, I understand why you would push that towards that subgenre. Yeah, subgenre. I'm with you, but in those examples, And Foss, I don't know if we talked about this before, but have you read Red Dragon?
No.
Yeah. Well, or listen to. It's definitely worth the time, and not just because people so often say that the book is better than the movie, sort of thing, but the way that Harris draws you in, and then the way it does set the tone and the scene for Silence of the Lambs. What a great, the film, the book. I'm an equal fan with that, but Silence of the Lambs, its adaptation, I thought was incredible. The first adaptation of Red Dragon, I can't even remember what it was called, but it was horrible. It was like in the 80s, and it was all 80s cheese kind of thing.
And Hillbilly, I know that you're back there, but I've got the free version, so I'm limited to 6 people.
Something Door? Was it about the name of the movie had a door in it?
Oh, well, I'll drop out. I'll let him jump in.
I will leave it up to you guys, but you don't want to partake of the
Oh.
Glock goodness.
No, it's all good. I just wanted to say all Glocks are bad, okay? Unless they're chambered in 10 millimeter. Anything in 10 millimeter is fine. Be honest, I'll take a high point either way. It doesn't matter as long as it's 10 millimeter. But Glocks can rot in the barrel. All right, I'm later, guys.
Later.
Rock a Glock.
Bubba took one for the team.
Oh
So-
man.
Well, we'll go back. Let you guys vote on the first few that we already did. So, Hillbilly, would you choose Friday or American Psycho with the G17s? The G22 versus G17, and you can go by the movie, the Glock. I don't care. However you want to vote.
So the option is
The movie Friday or the movie American Psycho. Psycho had G17. Friday had G22. Ice Cube versus what's his face?
I'll take Friday.
I did not mean to do that. There we go. Friday. So another vote for Friday. How about you, Moo?
Well, my first handgun was a G22, so I'm going to go with Friday.
So Friday will stay. What about Skyfall versus Mission Impossible 3? G17 against G17. Hillbilly?
I'm gonna take Mission Impossible.
Ooh. How about you, Moo?
I'm going to go with Skyfall.
Well, that's good because I don't remember how many votes each one got. So Skyfall will stay. How about Hannibal G17 versus True Lies G17? Hillbilly?
Oh man, I like both of those, but I'm gonna go with True Lies because of blowing up the bridges over Key West.
Moo?
Same.
So
Did they do that for real? Is that back in the day when they had to do that for real, or is that?
I think when
Yeah,
they
they-
replaced the bridges, they blew up the old ones.
Yeah,
I've been down there on near 7 Mile Bridge, so I've seen that.
oh
I
yeah.
haven't, but I've been on
Yeah.
long bridges. That must be crazy to be on a bridge for 7 miles. I'd freak the fuck out, I think.
Well, when
Yeah.
they blew up old bridges, they left all the deals, so it makes great fishing. for
Yeah,
people.
there's still pedestrian bridges out there for fishing. Yep. I've
But
seen
by
it.
what's it, Tallahassee? I've been on bridges, I guess, in the Panhandle. Panhandles are horrible. We can all agree. So I was on a bridge on one of those panhandles, and I thought I was going to crash because there's like the Louisiana bridges that are across the swamps. That's one thing, but when they go up in the air, so a boat, like a giant boat, can go underneath. Can you
Oh,
imagine? I don't know. Has anybody ever driven on one of those things? And the
Yeah.
giant
yeah.
boat goes underneath
Have you
you?
not been to
You have
one
freaked
in
out.
Tampa? I think
Yeah, I
Tampa
have.
might be one of the taller ones.
Sunshine
And,
Skyway
like,
Bridge.
Yeah, your engine's downshifting the first gear by the time you get to the top of that bridge.
So
So
on
I've
the other
been,
side, your brakes are having to get hot coming down, probably.
I've been over both bridges in between Tampa and St. Pete, the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. The original one was really steep, and that's before the barge knocked it down.
Yeah, it fell down while people was driving over it.
Yeah, and then I've been across the new one too. So yeah,
You just died.
And-
right? You don't live through that.
and the Mackinac
Yeah.
Bridge between
Mhm.
Lower and Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Yeah, I've been on
That's
that
fine.
one, and
I don't know about that one. I've heard of that one though.
That's
You
5
also
miles.
had the bridge going from Louisiana to Florida. Is that right?
That's the one
That's a
I've been
long
thinking about.
jog right there.
That's pretty horrible.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not high, but it's
No.
Yeah.
annoying. Like you
There's
think
just
about it's going to break
nowhere
down. My
to
car's
turn
gonna break
around.
down.
Hardly.
Okay.
So we've got Jay and Silent Bob, Will Ferrell with the G17, and Resident Evil Final Chapter,
I think that one's
yeah,
going to win.
Jovovich with the G17. Hillbilly?
I'm gonna take Jay and Silent Bob.
How about you, Moo?
Resident Evil because she's hot.
And she is.
Mhm. Mhm.
I may have picked wrong. Now that I think about it.
We
G-Webs?
voted against each other twice now.
Yeah, your determination is open. Foss said it was any factor you wanted to include, so hotness counts.
What are you going for, G-Webs?
I'm calling Resident Evil's going to win the whole thing. I'm calling it now. Resident Evil.
Gary?
Jay and Silent Bob.
Does anybody else want to call it out in the first row, in the first thing here? What they think is going to win?
Gary's
Yeah,
drunk.
Mia Jovovich.
Not.
I think she's hotter. Can't believe we're doing hot chicks and guns.
Wait, what'd you say?
There's only one.
Mia Jovovich. Jovovich, how do you pronounce her last name?
Jovovich.
I'll allow it.
Jovovich, my bad.
She says Jovovich.
Yeah, Yogo Bitch, I
Thanks.
think, is accepted.
Is there more than one girl in the thing?
Oh, she can't pronounce anything with something in her mouth. No.
Oh.
Jesus, Moo.
Did I say that out loud?
Yeah, you did.
We're not like Gary.
It's late.
Say stuff.
As
So
soon as
it's
it's chewing gum.
DJ?
What were my choices?
Jay and Silent Bob or Resident Evil?
Okay, Jay and Silent Bob, because I actually do really like Kevin Smith and his writing and the
Yeah.
acting.
It's very funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Jay and Silent Bob also.
Okay.
Bite me.
Yeah. Barbecue, I know you're in back, but I'm since I've got the free version, I'm stuck at 6 people, and then more so we're full up. You're welcome to hang out back there if you want.
He can vote from the back, right? He can vote
Yeah.
from back there. He pays a
You
slip.
can still put your vote in the private chat if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Join the crowd out front, too.
So did you all just crowd out Resident Evil in first run?
I hope so.
It'd be gone.
Girl,
Well, the one you pick, G, it's not going. Yeah, it's not going to the top.
I feel like
You
it
better
might
swing under
not
the
win
Mia
now.
Jovovich.
I feel like there's a chance it won't win
Yeah,
now.
yo-yo bitch. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, is that what I said?
So now we've got Bad Boys 2 with the two-tone G17s versus Get Carter. Stallone with the single G17. Hillbilly. Well, we'll go Guns and Barbecue back there. Which one are you going to go with? And you can go by however you want to vote on these.
Wide open.
He's got 2 BB guns.
So Bad Boys 2.
Oh, that's another way to read that.
What you gonna do?
Hillbilly, how about you?
I'm going Bad Boys. I just like the song.
Moo?
I'm going to get Carter.
G-Webs.
I don't got a problem with Bad Boys, and I like them, but I forgot about Get Carter. I'm going to go watch that one at some point, so Get Carter is my vote. I'd rather watch a real movie like that than a comedy, because the comedies are funny or whatever, but I'd rather watch a real movie.
Gary?
Bad Boys.
Ooh.
DJ?
Get Carter, but I want to write in that Glock should have transported back to the Michael Caine version from the 70s. It's better.
So I'm going to go Bad Boys. So Bad Boys is moving on.
You would.
Yoink.
I haven't seen Get Carter.
What?
Either one.
Nope. No.
There's a one that he's talking about, an old black and white one with
Yeah.
the revolver, and then the new one. The new one is like Stallone when he's... No, I guess he's always been able to act, huh? But he's just being an actor. He's not being like a superhero or none of that shit.
He can act. His mumbling drives me crazy. Because like Copland, he was really good in Copland. That's a good
It's very
movie.
much
Agreed.
like Copland. It's very much like that, right?
Yeah.
The kind of the worst part of Copland is Rappaport.
Yeah.
But he did a very good job in Copland.
And I felt like Get Carter was a good movie, and it's not like his acting surprised me so much, but I could tolerate it more than a hell of a lot of the other things he was in.
He doesn't have to do much, right?
Yeah.
So now we've got Training Day with the G17 and the Bone Collector G17. So we've got Denzel Washington against Angelina Jolie. Barbecue. Which one are you going for? Big boobs or good actor? He's going Training Day. So one for Training Day. Hillbilly, how about you?
I'm going with the looks and the big boobs, brother.
Ah,
That
Moot.
seltzer talking.
Dang right it is.
I'm going.
Which one
I'm
you
going.
for?
I'm going Training Day.
So 2 for Training Day.
I do like a nice boob, but
G-Webs.
I'm over here looking and surprised Denzel Washington is in both movies. He's in The Bone Collector. I don't think I've seen it, so I have to go with the other one, but I'll be watching Bone Collector. It doesn't look that bad. It looks like some kind of a drama, mystery type of whodunit, maybe, type of thing.
So you're going Training Day?
Yeah, I'm going Training Day, which I liked, and I've never seen this other one. It says drama, crime, mystery, so...
Gary, how about you?
Training Day.
1999.
Training Day, DJ.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that Boo likes teats. I'm going to pick Training Day because Jolie's teats can go away. She was shacked up with Sling Blade for a while, kind of thing. So I don't want to follow. I'm going Training Day.
But they wore vials of each other's blood.
I know, dude. And they were like talking about banging in the limo at some award show from the podium or whatever it was. They were a weird couple.
I have not seen either, so I'm going to go Boobins, but it doesn't matter. So Training Day moves on.
Teats.
So now we've got Super Trooper G17 versus A-Team G17. Bradley Cooper versus I'm forgetting the name of the dude. Super Troopers.
They don't have names. They're just in those movies, right?
Yeah. He's a good actor. I just can't. His name slips my mind. So Barbecue. Super Trooper for Barbecue. Hillbilly. Which one are you going for?
Okay, I am going for Super Troopers.
Moot.
Super Troopers.
Pull over. We're pulled over as far as I can pull over.
It's a
G-Webs?
cardigan, but thanks for asking.
Enough of the shenanigans. G-Webs? Which one do you go?
What's the other movie?
A-Team versus Super Troopers.
Oh, the A-Team. Yeah, Super Troopers for sure. There's nothing to be said about the A-Team.
Gary?
Possibly the greatest movie of all time, Super Troopers.
Super Troopers. And that's probably one of my favorite pictures that I've done was C4 and Super Troopers.
Mm-hmm.
DJ.
That was a long time ago, and I know that I saw Super Troopers, but I was too high to be able to remember anything about it, and I didn't even know there was an A-Team movie. So I'm going to go Super Troopers. And were any of the original cast in the A-Team movie?
No.
Maybe a
I-
cameo, but I don't think so. Nobody wanted to take credit for it. It was pretty weak.
No
Yeah,
cameos,
was-
no nothing?
The
Maybe-
A-Team movie was
maybe-
not good.
Maybe Mr. T, but I don't know. Nobody's really.
Dave Baracus.
Mr.
I'm
Teats.
going Super Troopers.
Was that a sweep?
It was a sweep.
I don't think A-Team had a chance. I don't think that many people even seen that movie.
Wait, not the movie. I mean, the movie just stunk.
So now we've got John Wick with the G26 against Life Aquatic G17.
No brainer for me.
This one's kind of a tough one for me, but barbecue, gonna go John Wick or Steve Zissou? Oh,
He
he's
copped
copping
out.
out.
He says he's seeked neither, so he's now speaking as a bard from Dungeons and Dragons.
So barbecue has given it to the audience. So whatever the audience chooses will be his vote. So while they are choosing,
Choose wise.
we'll go hillbilly.
Choose wisely, my friends.
John Wick or Life Aquatic?
Yeah, I'm not giving this to the side chat. Sorry, guys. I'm taking John Wick.
John Wick. Moo.
Wiki.
So Wick, and I'm gonna go ahead and say the audience is choosing Wick. We've got 3 votes out there already, so it's probably gonna be Wick. G-Webs.
Well, I feel like Bubba isn't necessarily voting for the movie so much as the gun in that slot.
Yeah, all these are
One
going.
of the, I guess, few people that don't like Wick. I don't know why people like that. I mean, I guess I understand why people like that movie, but I don't not like those movies that much. So, and Life Aquatic was weird, and I like that kind of. So it's not my favorite movie or anything, but I'm going to pick it just because I don't like Wick.
Well, John Wick should have, instead of the G28, 26, it should have KSG on there.
Gary.
Wikipedia.
Life.
Oh,
Somebody
for
should
Wick.
make a Wikipedia and just have all kinds of Wick facts in it.
They should.
DJ.
You know, I don't think the average John Wick fan even knew what Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou was, or that it even came out, kind of like I missed the A-Team kind of thing. And just based on the soundtrack, I'm going to go with Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. The Brazilian artist Seu Jorge did the soundtrack for that, and he's Brazilian, so he's singing some things in Portuguese, and he's covering David Bowie songs acoustically, and it's some really good versions out there. You don't have to be a fan to check it out. Life Aquatic soundtrack.
You see,
I liked both of them. I did like John Wick, and I liked Life Aquatic. I'm actually gonna vote Life Aquatic.
You've seen Life Aquatic, right, DJ?
Oh yeah, many times.
Yeah. Well, soundtrack good, but it just don't beat the KSG 12 shotgun.
John Wick is moving on.
Fair.
He wicked it.
Acoustic guitar stands no chance.
So now we've got Friday G22 against Skyfall G17. Barbecue. Which one are you gonna vote for? He said Friday. Hillbilly.
Well, I want to see when it comes to DJ him vote on the soundtrack between these two. So I'm gonna go with Skyfall.
Skyfall. We got 1-1. Moo.
Skyfall, please.
So Skyfall. G-Webs.
I'd like to vote for European Metric. Or wait, no, I'll go for Compton.
So 2-2. Gizzard, how about you?
Skyfall.
Skyfall. Oh, we got a race going here. DJ.
I'm gonna try to get all the way through it. No sugar. Damn, y'all ain't never got two things to match. Either y'all got Kool-Aid, no sugar, peanut butter, no jelly, ham, no burger. I'm gonna go with Friday, please.
Ooh, I'm actually gonna go Skyfall, even though I didn't really care for the movie. And I liked Friday, but I don't know. I'm gonna vote Skyfall. Now we've got True Lies G17 versus Jay and Silent Bob G17.
This is the first one, or is this the new one?
The first one. The second one was trash, I thought. Barbecue, are you going Jay and Silent Bob or True Lies?
True Lies is Arnold Schwarzenegger and what's her name? And he flies around on a Harrier at one point.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee
Blow up
Curtis.
that bridge. Jamie Lee
Mhm.
Curtis. And they blow up that bridge in Miami.
Yep.
Or wherever it is, Florida.
Florida Keys.
Keys.
Loved her in Trading Places.
Hillbilly?
Oh man, this is really a tough one for me, honestly. I'm gonna have to stick to True Lies on this one, man. I just enjoyed that show. A lot of comedy.
So, and I think I marked Jay and Silent Bob for some reason, but Barbecue said True Lies. So we got 2 for True Lies. Moo, how about you?
True Lies.
And G Webs. I'm guessing you're going True Lies,
I guess so, yeah.
but you don't have to.
What's in wait? Oh wait, Jay and Silent Bob. I'm getting that confused with the phone booth one. So Jay and Silent Bob is Clerks essentially.
Yeah, it's somebody
Same
did
writer,
a
same
comic
actors.
book about them, so they
I was
went
thinking
to-
Bill and Ted. I was thinking Bill and Ted this whole time. For some reason, I had that in my head. So now that I'm realizing it's them, I don't like that dude at all. I don't think he's. I think he's anti-gun. So True Lies for damn sure.
Gizzard.
I'm gonna go with Jay and Silent Bob just because somebody should.
And my count is off for some reason. I think it should be 3 and 1. DJ?
Let's see. I am the Clit Commander, Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah, Mark Hamill as, what was it, Nut Puncher or
Cock Knocker.
Cock Knocker, yeah. But I'm going to go True Lies.
Oh, you know what? I might not even have even
Oh,
seen that.
I don't the Moo vote?
Oh yeah.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
he voted True Lies.
I know,
Yeah,
but how-
That one was the boobies.
Now we got Bad Boys 2, G17, Training Day, G17, Barbecue, Bad Boys, or Training Day?
What you gonna do? I don't wanna.
He gets paid by the hour.
Bad Boys 2.
Playing from iPad.
Uh-oh.
Alexa, order pizza.
Alexa, order extra small condoms.
It's on mute. Thanks.
Hillbilly, Bad Boys 2 or Training Day?
Man, this is really tough for me. A lot of them. So I'm gonna pass. I will get one pass. So I'm gonna pass mine to the side chat.
So the chat gets to vote for Hillbilly. Bad Boys or Training Day. So while we're waiting, we'll move on to Moo.
I'm gonna go with Training Day.
So one for Training Day. And G Webs.
I just watched Training Day like a month ago, and it's not doing much for me anymore. I remembered it being better than when I watched it, so I'm going to go with Bad Boys. I haven't watched it in a while, but I know what it is, right? It's just like it is what it is. So I'm going with Bad Boys.
Gary.
Let's go with Training Day.
Training Day. So 2-2. And we've got a tie out there so far in the chat. Ozzy said Bad Boy. Oop. Well, jumped around on me there. Ozzy said Bad Boy, and Bubba said Training Day. So we need at least one more vote out there.
Not so much the movie as much as the Glock that he's using in the movie.
Larry said Training Day.
Looks like Training Day gets the win. Sorry, Ozzy.
Well, we're not. We're
Oh, okay. Well, I meant on my vote is what I was talking
You're
about.
jumping the Glock on that one.
I am. I was just talking about my voting aside.
Need the Glock
TJ,
stop.
which are you going? Bad Boys or Training Day?
Training Day?
Training Day.
Was that a question?
Yeah, kind of.
Non-committal answer.
Sort of.
I'm gonna say Bad Boys, which ties it up, but the audience, theirs counts as 2, I guess, because they're the tiebreaker. So, Training Day is gonna move on. So now we've got Super Trooper G17, John Wick G26. Barbecue. What you going for? Brian Cox, that's who it was. Brian Cox in Super Troopers. Super Troopers.
He said Sulfur Troopers.
So we've got 1 for Solar Troopers. Hillbilly.
I want to go with John Wick, buddy.
Ooh, John Wick. 1-1. Mo.
John Wick, sir.
Ooh.
Another big Kel-Tec fan there.
G-Webs.
Whatever's the opposite of Wick. Is it Super Troopers?
Well, Super Troopers.
My anti-Wick vote is also one I like, so that worked out pretty good.
Gary.
Super Troopers.
Super Troopers.
Although Super Troopers would have been funnier if they used revolvers.
Yeah. DJ?
John Wick action flick.
Oh.
Whoop, whoop.
Leaves it to the man himself.
I messed up the count again. I don't know. I'm kind of randomly putting in numbers, I guess.
It should have been 3-3. Right?
Well, there's only 6. Oh, there's 7 of us.
There's 7 of us.
Should
Oh,
be
shit.
3-3. Should be
Barbecue's-
tied. You get the tiebreaker.
There we go.
Get your money back.
No refunds. All sales are final. So I'm going Super Troopers. I like both. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna go Super Troopers. So
Yeah, I'm surprised by the number of comedies that have been in this bracket. I mean, I think if you thought about the average person's response to where do Glocks appear, it'd be like action movies almost completely. So it's kind of interesting. I'm glad you pulled these.
So now we've got Skyfall versus True Lies. G17 on G17. And
I know
If
there's
everyone left the whole criminal underworld and the coin out of Wick, I would have liked it a lot more. But the magic coins that can suck your blood and shit, I can't get
What?
past.
I was okay with it. I was okay with that stuff. It's just the world doesn't make the John Wick world doesn't make sense. Just the
Yeah, there's this massive infrastructure that the criminal underworld has, and then they worry about little insignificant shit too much.
if everybody's a criminal, because all the regular people don't seem to take notice of all the people being shot around them, but the world full of criminals, what's their purpose? Why are they? How are they making money? Who are they making money off? Everybody seems to. Does everybody know about it? There's lots of stuff, and then some of the fighting is sloppy, but I still like it overall. So Hillbilly, True Lies or Skyfall?
Oh man. I I am going to go with True Lies, and I just want to say that there's probably one person out there somewhere that's upset that there's not a G23 in this category.
I think he went to bed though, so we're safe.
Yeah, it's probably. I may make myself big here in this for just a second. It's probably him. That's that was. I did a kind of a test, and I wasn't real happy. Wasn't overall happy with how it came out. So so Moo, True Lies or Skyfall?
I'm going True Lies, buddy.
So True Lies. G Webs.
Put me down for the European in a metric. Or wait, no, I'll go with True Lies.
So True Lies. I thought Tom Arnold was half the movie. It's the one thing that I liked Tom Arnold in was True Lies.
Yeah, when he hides behind the light post,
Yeah.
and all the bullets are hitting the light post, that's funny and shit.
I was just thinking the same thing. He checks himself for bullet holes.
Yeah, he's like looking all over his body.
Gary.
True Lies.
DJ.
Fuck Daniel Craig. True Lies.
So it's going to be a sweep on True Lies.
Is that the one where he's sitting in a chair and they hit him in the nuts a bunch of times?
But that might have been Casino Royale.
Okay. So
That was
if
last
guy-
weekend.
Yes, I get an itch. To the left. To the left.
Stiletto heels.
Training Day versus Super Troopers. Barbecue. Which one are you going for?
Is Super Troopers going to push all the way?
It might. Yeah, I will say that the sitting naked in the chair with the knotted rope torture was. There's better ways to torture people, I thought.
Yeah, in any number of ways that proves that everybody wasn't even paying attention and that some idiot came up with that and everybody's like, all right. Like, that was the dumbest thing in a movie one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in a movie.
Hillbilly. What you
Well,
going for?
I mean-
Training Day or Super Trooper?
I really like both shows. I'm going with the boobs on this one.
Wait,
Training
Or
Day.
boobs.
Brian Cox is kind of fat. He has man boobs. Which boob are you going for?
I'm gonna go with Super Troopers.
Moo.
I'll be going Training Day.
Training Day. G Webs.
I guess Super Troopers.
Okay, and Gary.
Super Troopers.
DJ.
Training Day.
Training Day. I'm going Super Troopers. So we've got for our final True Lies versus Super Troopers. So a comedy versus an action comedy. Well, I guess it's more action than comedy. True Lies. There's quite a bit of comedy in it. Guns and Barbecue. Are you going Super Troopers, the Bear Fuckers, or True Lies, the Harrier Flyers? He's going Super Troopers. Hillbilly.
I want to go with True Lies, brother.
True Lies. Moo?
True Lies.
True Lies. G-Webs.
They're both pretty good. I only watch True Lies once in a while. I watch Super Troopers pretty much more often. So I think there's more stuff from Super Troopers too. So I'm giving it to Super Troopers.
So Super Troopers. Gary?
Super Troopers.
Super Troopers. DJ?
Man, it didn't occur to me until just now when I heard Gary say it, but has anybody heard the ABBA song in their head
Super
during any of this?
I actually just thought of that too when he said that.
Yeah, right on. So I'm going to switch. I haven't voted for Super Troopers yet. Because of that, I'll go Super Troopers.
I have ABBA Gold.
Rock.
I am a large ABBA fan.
I did not know until this moment.
Yes.
Hail and well met.
So I would actually go True Lies. So I like True Lies better than Super Trooper. I like both, but Super Troopers is going to take it. So it's
Wow.
the Super Trooper and the G17 with Brian Cox. That is
Cool.
our
Wow.
Never would have guessed it.
winner.
That
No,
was close. Dude.
Well, thanks for putting the time in on that, Foss. I mean, going through and finding characters, films, and the use of a Glock that almost all of us could relate to. I mean, there are a couple films that I certainly did not see, but they were part of, cultural consciousness for sure. Thanks, man.
Well, Gaston Glock, love Glocks or hate Glocks, had an immense influence on firearms, handguns. So I just wanted to, it's my way to tip my hat to Gaston Glock.
Awesome.
So
Did you say you have read the book or you have not yet?
I haven't. I want to. I need to.
One of the parts of the book, one of the reasons Glock got to be where it is or it is what it is because there was a time when what should I say, like the prop companies or the writers of movies and stuff, they couldn't really write a specific brand of gun in it because they couldn't guarantee that they were going to get that brand of gun. So they would just say like a gun. And when Glock started hitting the scene, they were indifferent if you put them in the hands of a good guy or a bad guy. They just wanted to be in movies, like they were hungry. So they got into media at a time when music videos and stuff were happening, and they made themselves available like to be in media. So they did what's the word, like their reaction or their dealings with media were different than other companies. So that's one of the reasons we see them in so many movies, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
So let me do this. Yourwebsites.com for two-way stickers, patches, books, logo design, web design, 3D printing, technology consulting, and so much more. Yourwebsites.com. Hillbilly.
For the rest of the year, anybody that orders from the store, you're going to get a piece of this cheesy quesadilla with your order. So,
Is that airmail?
no, I'll just send it regular speed. It'll be a little bit. It won't be as warm when it gets there, but just sit
Man,
down
I
and
don't
cook
want
it
a
once.
cheese quesadilla. Son of a gun.
Dude, I'm saying. Were you on when he had the pictures? He was eating them with a tiny fork, and I said, as in more than one. Didn't share.
Not only a tiny fork, but a tiny knife too.
This time I cut
Butter.
3 of them and I folded them into a triangle with the cheese in the middle, and it sort of squirted out the sides, and it got all crispy when it squirted outside there.
Are you talking with your mouth full?
Sorry, I had a bunch of cheese and quesadilla in my mouth.
Hillbilly, is there anything you'd like to plug?
Oh man, yeah. Tomorrow night, me and Gizzard are teaming up, and we're going to be doing a New Year's show. It's going to start at 10 p.m. Central Time, and at least go to midnight Central Time, so we can catch the East Coast and Central Time Zone. And we didn't know. We thought tonight we'd ask you, are you going to do anything on New Year's tomorrow to catch the West Coast?
I wasn't really planning on it.
Doesn't your contract, if you do a bracket, doesn't that release you from your legal obligation to do any kind of Sunday show?
No, in the contract, there's a cool down period for the bracket.
Yeah,
because it-
the charge up.
yeah.
Send it to detailing.
I think if Foss gets pressured into a bracket, he gets to take like 2 months off.
Well, the brackets, if you don't cool them slowly, they crack. So it takes a while to get them cooled down.
Tempering. Yeah.
So you and Gary are going to tag team the new year.
Yep.
Yes, sir. You know,
Don't
as
spit
bad as that
roast.
sounds. We are going to tag team the New Year's. And
I don't want to watch that movie.
I know, dude. Like those two guys on either side of the new year. I don't know. I'm crushed.
oh man,
A lot of hard seltzer.
yeah, I'm still belching up hard seltzer. Oh god.
So
Soft seltzer.
what time are you guys going to start your stuff?
We're going to
No.
start 10 o'clock p.m. Central Time, which would be 11 o'clock Eastern, and I believe it'd be 8 o'clock West Coast time. And we're going to at least go to midnight Central Time, which would be 1 o'clock Eastern time. And so there's still, a few hours difference between Central Time and West Coast. So I don't know for sure if we, so just let us know if you want to do somebody on the West Coast there. If you want to do, enter, into the New Year's deal, and we'll try to join you or promote you, whatever we can do. So, but that's kind of all we got coming up this weekend. And then, of course, next week we got Guns, Beer, and Therapy on Saturday night again. We had a great time over there tonight. We had Brownworks on the channel, had a great giveaway. And there is, if you go back and watch the rewind, there's a 10% discount that only lasts 1 week. Some great grips for guns, all custom made. Really glad that he came on there tonight. We just had a great time. We had to drink some seltzers from a charity. We did a charity deal on Scotsman put together. We did it on Chris's show last Thursday. And so there's some challenges made that if we raise a certain amount of money, we're going to drink hard seltzers, and we followed through with that. And so there's some of us that's really sick from drinking those right now, not feeling good, but we will make it by. We'll survive. Thank you very much for having me on, buddy. I really appreciate it. Always a blast.
Well, thanks for coming on. And I'm going to juggle you to the back so I can bring barbecue up, see if he has anything. So
you bet you better.
So you can hang out there for just a little bit. Barbecue, buddy. How you doing?
Good evening. You didn't have to bring me up here. I've got nothing going on. But I appreciate it.
Is there, anything you want to plug? Anybody else's stuff, or
Well, I had an exhausting day and fell asleep early, so I have no idea if Brooke did Suicide Prevention Saturday. So if you did, go check that out. If not, maybe look for that tomorrow evening. So yeah, that's it. Like I said, I've got nothing going on. So
well, I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Luke, you got anything you want to plug? Are you going to make any more videos?
I don't know. Send me more stuff. I'll make a video of the stuff you send me. No, I got nothing. Good to see you guys. I always enjoy it. A lot of fun. And go check out Gizzard and Hillbillies chat tomorrow.
G-Webs. Anything you want to plug? You doing anything tomorrow?
I have a question. Who's going to dress up as the baby and who's dressing up as the old guy?
I'll be the old guy. I feel that way lately. Unless Gary wants to jump in.
Gee, I don't know because I'm twice your age, but
It's only 10 years, man. Come on.
I don't care.
I'm not sure if we'll do a show in the morning or not, but thanks for hosting.
Gary, you want to plug anything?
I think I got a show coming up tomorrow night. But yeah, the New Year's Eve show, kind of a last minute kind of thing. I still have to get some stuff worked up for it, but that'll be fun. And then, of course, Foul Territory on Friday. That's at 9 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, which, as we all know, is the only time zone that matters. Other than that, I'd like to hopefully wish everybody a Happy New Year and all that stuff. May 2024 be a fantastic year for you and for us all. And thank you for having me.
DJ, anything you want to plug?
Hey, man, you know me. I've always got something. Picking up on where Barbecue left off. A Great Start Shooting School. Link is in the description. Yes, there was a show this Saturday, and almost every Saturday you can join Brooke. I help her out, talking about suicide awareness and violence prevention. Also going to drop links for 2 other channels in the text chat. One of them is for the Costly Conversations channel. A lot of great stuff going on over there. Definitely check him out. And She Fires on Sundays is hosting a program called the Fireside Chats. I'm helping out with that, and I'd love to see anybody and everybody out there. Tonight, in the new year, and every night, be safe, have fun, carry your guns, and rock. I'm out.
Homesteading with Soulless Gingers, creeping in here at the end here. So next week,
Disco is dead. Disco is not dead. Disco is life.
So next week will be a mouse party, and possibly in the near future we'll be going back to Wednesdays, but I'm still waiting to see when my schedule will change and how it will change. So it's still stuck at a possibility, not a guarantee. But other than that, it's been an interesting year, as most years are, and I think next year there will be some good things coming, 2A wise, and the future is what you make of it. So I hope everybody has a good rest of the night and go do good things. And where's my outro?
Still here? It's over. Go home. No.